Good morning, Linda Hayes Bennett here. Whew. Evolutionary health, pre-industrialized health, our drinking water, our reliance upon oxygenated fuel, heart, brain, lungs. This new administration is on to something very, very important. I've been doing this work 25 years. Started with massage therapy, the body-brain connection. I was working with worst-case dementia patients, unmedicated, many of them, and the body was like, ugh. You calm that body, you calm the mind. That's where it began. And all the muscles, massage therapy, everything but, certification to get into it. I've got that's one of my foundational studies, and I went into neuroscience, cognitive behavioral neuroscience, looking at drinking water and transition metals in animal models of Alzheimer's plaque development. This was during the decade of the brain. I started around full-time in 2007, got into my first master's program 2009, early 2009, and then graduated in 2013. So 4.5-year-ish degree. Looking at iron, copper, zinc in drinking water in animals, behavioral, cognitive, and brain dissection. Got really good at brain dissection. I was showing my colleagues how to dissect. I'm good with my hands. And know how to study up and find, the dentate gyrus. That was one thing we did one day. So, etc. Had the Women in Neuroscience Club, which was very interested in the neuroscience of it all, a lot of colleagues, and we just worked together and got things done. Got on that magic carpet of the decade of the brain, which was really, and at the Krasnow Institute for Advanced Studies, run by Jim Olds, son of James Old, Nobel Prize winner, James Olds. And top minds. I mean, I just started at the top of the food chain and just was observing, learning the language, audited Ann Butler's course in comparative neuroanatomy, and then took it formally, and I was one of the few students that aced that course. What a teacher, Ann Butler. And sole publisher, always invited to publish. She didn't need a team. She had it all up here. And Harold Morowitz, whose Origins of Life was my mentor, and he was older in a wheelchair at the time. I helped him get around. We went for dinner many times, and he helped me get started. So I had great onboarding into neuroscience. Yay! And I did it. And then I went to Johns Hopkins for my second master's under Marilyn Albert, top of the food chain in aging, dementia, MCI, and George Reebok, also top of the food chain in functional aging. How do we look at good stuff in aging? How do we measure the good stuff? Decision making, perspective, considered thought, as it were. And that's a big issue too. And my first doctorate, now I'm in my second doctorate. Our AI club just won a big award. Best new student organization. We have 100 members. I'm the president. I'll be the president next year. And, the powers of AI in everything we do. And it needs to be taught too by older minds, people with perspective and who can scrutinize. Need people not just to knee-jerk reaction. We need, all right, from my experience, man, that couldn't be correct. You need to rethink that and you need to question Like an older person can question and add perspective and to the AI's response, which is just coughing up what it's been taught to date. All right, those things. Back to water. Drinking water. Through evolution, we got fresh in ponds and streams and mountain sources, full of life in certain areas, bacteria, any number of things, algae. But they're pure drinking water sources from rain, runoff through mountains, picking up minerals, and manganese. Manganese, not magnesium, manganese. Manganese. I talk about it a lot. It's been stripped out of our drinking water. It's harmless. It's incredibly bioenergetic. The mitochondria that are the powerhouses of plethora, they host us, need it and know what to do with it. Very big part of organogenesis, biogenesis, origins of life. It's in every battery. It's mentioned in these big softball balls of deposits at the bottom of the oceans that industry is fighting over each other to start harvesting at the expense of all the life that exists at the bottom of the ocean. Careful what you want. So manganese particulates when it's in water. It splits oxygen out of water. Very big part of one thing that it does. And it's a transition metal. It's right beside iron. Very dynamic. They call it the magic metal, the voodoo metal. And it should be in our drinking water. It naturally is in our drinking water. Good. Makes it a little cloudy. Okay. Ain't gonna hurt me. Gonna help me. It's part of our evolution, drinking water that has not been reverse osmosed and laced with fluoride. I agree that the fluoride, that experiment should take place on a big level while we put manganese back into the water, maybe as a control, maybe systematically as it was meant to be. It's harmless. The fact that it particulates, as in origins of life, what creates life? Well, manganese is right there. Pop! Biomass, sunlight, calcium in the mix, manganese, pop, 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 pop. Things happen. And so because it clouds up the water and the water doesn't look clean, it's been pulled out. This needs to come back into our drinking water. And that's my lecture today. And I'm excited that, the RFK's mandate for drinking water not only includes fluoride, but I suggest will eventually include putting that manganese back in the mix. And let the games re-begin as far as our ability to evolve within a human lifespan. I grew up in a home, we had a well. It was a well water, so I guess however that worked seeped into the system and then was pulled up into our drinking water. I also grew up in the same quarter-mile area as Ella Fitzgerald and Pearl Bailey, and became a singer myself. So we drank the same water too. Does that mean anything? Maybe it does. It's an observation. Pretty powerful one. My older brother also was a singer. And I don't know who other came out of that particular spot. It's down by the James River, Chesapeake Bay, and Atlantic Ocean. A little more on the Chesapeake Bay, James River part of it. And as we know, the Chesapeake Bay is the largest natural estuary in the world, teeming with life. And may it continue to be so. So there's a lot of science behind the calls in this new administration for clean drinking water, pre-industrialized, how we evolved up to being surrounded by plastic. So I put a couple little plants in the mix today. Interesting plants. But you can tell this one right here, this is a very tropical plant. It's doing okay, but it's out of its natural environment. I saw one down in the, oh gosh, I guess maybe San Juan is where I saw one. Just unbelievable. I mean, it was gargantuan. It was in its natural environment. So what we want to try to recreate in our human lifespan is, how do we thrive? Having manganese in the water is one way to do that. Yep. Staying oxygenated. Man, we weren't up at the buffet all the time. We were oxygenated. That was the fuel that kept us like, oh boy, what is it possible? I might find something really interesting to eat today and bring back to my papal popes, my peeps. So to understand how we evolved from biogenesis, organogenesis, embryogenesis, and then the power of these transition metals in the mitochondria, including manganese, calcium, iron, and the other elements that pull us into the evolutionary part of who we are. We want to deactivate the amygdala. When the fear center, when a tarantula crawls up our arm, or the tiger or whatever comes out of the woods, because it's doing the same thing, and we freeze, that's hypoxia, that's anoxia. That ends up in the hippocampus, because that's the last drop-off point for oxygen in the cerebral bloodstream. And at which point we mutate. We're like, if this keeps happening, I'm going to have to sprout some wings. The complexities of evolution are wonderful. And manganese is a huge part of that. So join me in this journey. Understand that these changes that are happening, pre-industrialized, robust health. I try to practice it myself and teach it to others. And all that really matters is what we do on that next oxygenated breath. All that matters is tank up when we're in the shower. When we found water, good water, as human beings, we're 80% water. Of course, we're going to tank up. We're not going to let that, when we find it, man, we're going to spend the day filling up. Full tummy there. And then when we feast on animal flesh or fruit, fresh fruit, or find mushrooms that are edible, that's we only need it we don't need it all day, every day as we have it. Secretary Kennedy eats between a short period of the day, I think noon to 6, then fasts. This is good. Oxygen, water. Oxygen, fluid. And we need manganese back in that water. Yay. Solution. This is science too. Watch us bounce back from it. I love it. Please have a great day. Thanks for listening. I love you all. I'm just thrilled that these changes are possible now. We need to cool concussions, structure the recovery. I'm all on that one. Any number of, and now I'm looking at sleep cycle wellness using 40 hertz, the hertz of the deep cell that reverses aging. At the mitochondrial level, we're back to the mitochondria, aren't we now? At 40 hertz, pops into the mitochondria, releases that calcium, busts up it eliminates that amyloid, and we're good again. Cheers.